You ever seen a flea? One of the smallest insects. But for his height, a flea can jump, has a 36-inch vertical. The average person can't do that. If you capture the flea and you put him in a mayonnaise jar and you put the lid on it, so here he go. He start jumping, but he gonna hit himself on that lid. But after a while, after getting knocked down so many times, the flea makes an adjustment. He got 36 vertical, but since this lid is on, his environment got him now jumping nowhere near what he can. Capture some more fleas and put them in there, they start doing what the other fleas is doing. Next thing you know, got a jar full of fleas in there, ain't even using a 36-inch vertical. Them fleas have babies, so now guess what? The flea is born with a 36-inch vertical, but because he see his mama and daddy jumping just barely to the roof, you know what he do? He duplicates that behavior. Until you take the top off of your mayonnaise jar, you're gonna duplicate your surroundings. If you take an oak tree seed and you put it in a 2-foot pot, will never become the oak tree that oak trees are capable of becoming. Now check this out, ain't nothing wrong with the seed. The seed just fell prey to the environment. You are a seed from God. Don't you allow your environment to dictate the oak tree that you become. Take your seed, take your gift, get away from these people that's in your life that ain't doing nothing. Get away from them. I had to do it. When I told everybody I was getting into comedy, man, you can't get into comedy. You ain't even funny. How you gonna make money telling jokes? But I never gave up, because I dreamed so big. I want so big because the God I serve is big.
I am afraid that too many times we have put so much focus on teaching you to be good seed that we haven't taught you the power of good soil. Look at you and look at your environment. Have you been positioned to flourish? To be in an environment, in a family that supports you. My sister and I were talking the other day. I was telling her what an amazing person she is, that all of our lives together, not once have I ever known her to be jealous of me. And she said, how could I be jealous of you? You're my brother. I said, a lot of people have siblings that hate them, that are jealous of them, that hope they choke. You can have good seed, but if you've been in bad soil, people who hated you, environments that denied you, mentalities that poisoned you, are you blaming God for something you ought to be blaming the soil for? You cannot take a peach seed and plant it in a teaspoon of dirt and expect it to grow. The seed will only grow when it is planted in something bigger than itself. Are you planted in something bigger than you? Or have you always been planted in teacups, surrounded by little dirt, small-minded people, narrow, limited places that never let you stretch? Sometimes you gotta go where the corn is.
What's blocking your growth? Victoria and I were in another city walking through a park, and it was full of these huge cactus plants. I was amazed at not only how beautiful they were, but how big they were. As we continued through the park, we came to a group of cactus that looked the same type, but they were only about my height. I said to Victoria, they must be a different kind. She looked up and said, no, Joel, it's that tree. There was this large oak tree keeping the sun from hitting these cactus. What's interesting is they have the same potential as the cactus that were 30 feet tall. The only difference was something was blocking their growth. Now I wonder if something is blocking your growth. Are you under the shade of what someone spoke over you, told you what you couldn't do? Are you under the shade of intimidation, afraid to step out in faith? Do you have friends that are blocking your growth? What could you become if you got out from under that shade? The good news is the potential is still in you. You just have to get out from under that shade. There's nothing wrong with you. Quit thinking about all the things you've done wrong, living in regrets. When you live guilty, you're in agreement with the enemy. He'd love for you to go through life feeling wrong about yourself. He'll do his best to keep you in the shade. He knows your potential. There's always some reason to be down on ourselves. You have to put your foot down and say, no thanks, I'm not living under that shade. People may have disqualified you, but people don't determine your destiny. God does, and he never disqualifies you. God still has a purpose for you to fulfill. You wouldn't be alive unless he had something awesome in front of you. Start believing again. Start dreaming again. One thing that can easily stunt our growth is the people that we're spending time with. The people you're eating lunch with at the office. The neighbor you're hanging out with. Are they making your life better? Or are they causing you to compromise, be mediocre, take the easy way out? The scripture says, don't hang around angry people or you will become angry. If you want to know what you're going to be like in 5 years, look at your friends. Do yourself a favor, find some new friends. Spirits are transferable. If your friends are critical, that critical spirit will end up on you. You may not realize it, but they're blocking your growth. It's not their fault. You have to make a change. How high could you rise if you weren't being shaded by compromise? I know you love your friends, but your destiny is too great to hang around people that are not adding to your life. Pay attention to what you're seeing modeled around you. Over time, it will start influencing how you act, how you think, how you treat people. Some of the trouble and heartache we find ourselves in, if we look back, we knew we were supposed to make a change, but we didn't do it. We didn't want to upset people. But what you're not willing to walk away from is where you'll stop growing. If you'll get rid of the wrong people, then God will send the right people. People that will inspire you, people that will push you into your destiny. There is greatness in you. There is potential, talent that you haven't tapped into. Start believing you're a mighty hero. Get rid of those limiting thoughts. You and God are a majority. Step out and get ready to see new levels, new friendships, new victories. It's not where you start, it's how you finish. Where you are is not your destiny. You can come out of the fear, the guilt, and step in to who you were created to be, a mighty hero. Now quit believing those lies that you've reached your limits. You've been through too much. It'll never work out. Come out from under that shade. God is ready to show out in your life, to do things that are unusual, to take you where no one in your family has gone. And sometimes the reason we're in the shade is that's what we saw modeled growing up. But that's not who you are. That's a result of being in the shade. Low self-esteem, addictions, mediocrity. My family, we're all poor. We're all defeated, limited, afraid. But here's the key. You're the one God has raised up to step out of the shade. You're the one to set the new standard. Don't let these negative things keep getting passed down. All it takes is for one person to rise up. How high can you go if you'll just get rid of what's blocking your growth? Limited mindsets. God has a big destiny for you, but there will always be dream stealers, people that try to pull you into their shade. You really think you can go to college? You really think you can start that business? They live intimidated. They'll try to pull you into intimidation. Don't take the bait. Stay in the sun. Don't stay a 5-foot cactus when you were created to go 30 feet tall.
If I was you, I would try that. I bet you it'll work.